So my name is Leslie Sarga from BSCS2I, and I'm currently a solo member. My project is the library management system, and is designed to provide an organized, efficient, and reliable solution for managing daily library operations. Traditional manual methods of recording book borrowings, returns, and member information, which are time consuming and prone to errors and difficult to maintain as the volume records increases. So in this system, it aims to solve these problems by automating the management of book records, transactions, borrowing history, and return processes using a database-driven approach. So next is the system overview and objectives, where my main features are the book management, where it stores book information and tracks available copies. Member management maintains records of registered library members. The borrowing and returning, where it records a book when it's borrowed, in its due date and return date. Overdue tracking, where it automatically identifies overdue borrowings. The borrowing history, where it keeps complete transaction records with a soft delete feature, and it is for safe data management. And the system settings, where we allow administrators to configure rules such as borrowing limits. And for the users, the administrator is what I can have right now, where it configures system settings and monitor reports. For the real-world application, the system is intended for use in school libraries, small academic libraries, or where it is efficient. Record keeping and monitoring of book circulation is required. So for the objectives and expected outcomes, it is to automate and simplify library operations, to ensure accurate tracking of borrowed and returned and overdue books, and to minimize errors caused by manual record keeping. For my expected outcomes, we expect it to be faster processing of borrowing and returning transactions, reduce data inconsistencies and record loss, and improve monitoring of overdue books and fines. So next is for me system architecture uh, of my system, uh, where it follows a three-tier architecture combined with the MVC model view controller design pattern. So So how does this interact between front end, back end, and database? So this the presentation layer displays forms such as borrowing form, returning form, dash form, where it accepts user input using buttons, text boxes, and data grid view. In the back end, or the controller layer, it handles all system logic using C# classes, where borrow, member, book, and dashboard. And it performs validation, where it checks if there are empty fields, processing of transactions, calls database functions like return book, remove history, and get dashboard counts. And the database, or the data layer, where it stores all system data in the MySql tables. It executes SQL queries such as insert for new borrow records, update for return transactions, delete, or not really delete but rather updating and setting it to is deleted for soft deleted history, and select for displaying records and dashboard counts. So overall, the flow is sample is like the administrator clicks borrow in the WinForms interface, controller validates the input, then the SQL query is sent to the MySQL. MySQL stores the transaction in the borrowings table, and then the updated records are turned to the front end and displayed in the data grid view. So for the overview of the my ER diagram, the database represents a library management system which is designed to manage users and members, books and physical copies, borrowing transactions, and system settings. Entities, we have the users, which is it represents system users, such as the admin. We have a user ID as our primary key, and username sets as unique, and it is the purpose of it is to handle authentication and authorization, which is separated from members to distinguish admin or library members. So in the members section, members entities, it represents registered library members who borrow books, and as well we have the ID as our primary key, the member ID as a unique identifier, the personal details such as the name, email, phone, and the address fields, the membership type, membership status, if it is active or it is deleted. So it stores borrower identity and membership status, designed independently from users for role separation. So next is the books, the entities, which stores bibliographic information about books. As well, we have the book ID as our primary key, and together with it the other entities. The purpose of it is to represent the book title, not the physical copies, and show availability, which is derived from related book copies. And as said, the book copies entities represent physical copies of books, where we have the key fields as copy ID as our primary key, the book ID as the foreign key, and the copy status if it is available, borrowed, or damaged. Purpose of it is to enable tracking of multiple copies of the same book and supports accurate borrowing and inventory control. And then we have the borrowings, which represents borrowing transactions, yada yada. It tracks who borrowed which book and when, and it supports overdue detection and that. So, and this sample SQL logic is where we borrow a book, where this check book copies for available copies, the book entity copies. It insert record into borrowings table, then it updates its status to borrowed, then decrements the available copies in books table. So for me, I successfully designed and implemented a relational database for a library management system using MySql. Uh, I could say I developed a well-structured schema that supports core library operations such as member management, book inventory tracking, borrowing, and returning transactions. So one major challenge was designing the relation in between books, the physical copies. Initially, I considered storing copy information directly in the books table, but this caused redundancy and made tracking availability difficult. And I solved this by creating a separate books copies table, which allowed me to manage multiple copies accurately and improve normalization. Another challenge was tracking borrowing status and overdue books efficiently. So we addressed this by creating database views for active and overdue borrowings. This simplified query logic and actually improved the system performance. So for future improvements, I could say uh, role-based access control for different user. I only have admin here. I could add a librarian or staff, and an automated fine calculation, analytics and reports, which is mostly what I'm looking at. So I guess that's all. Thank you.